Hi there. I want to talk about this hidden revolution in the American marketplace that is corrupting our politics. I have a pretty classic dream of what American economic life looks like. It's a dream of entrepreneurialism, a small business economy, a thriving place, what Walt Whitman talked about in I Hear America Singing. I hear America singing, its various carols I hear. He talked about the mechanics, the carpenters, each one singing their own voice of what they themselves owned and no one else. But there's a threat to that kind of entrepreneurial small business economy that really started in the 1980s, and I'm going to call it the chickenization threat. I grew up killing chickens, that's not what this is about. And it's not my term, it's actually a term from the agriculture industry. It's talking about what's happening in the chicken industry moving over into the beef industry. So beef is getting chickenized. So what does that mean? Here's a chicken farm. Whoop, that's not a chicken farm. Pretend that's a chicken farm. Oh, pretend that's a chicken farm. Okay, we'll come back to this slide later. So a traditional chicken farm, the farmer would make all the key decisions, like what kind of chicks to buy or raise, what kind of feed to use, what kind of water, when to water, how to raise those chicks, and then the farmers compete then against each other to produce the best chickens that you then want to buy. Tyson now has contracts with about 6,000 different chicken farmers. But those chicken farmers don't operate in that way, in that entrepreneurial small business way. Instead, Tyson tells them exactly what chicks they need to buy, exactly what feed they need to use, and exactly what drugs need to be in that feed, along with the particular day-to-day practices they must use. That doesn't mean all farmers are getting the same feed or the same chicks. In fact, Tyson sometimes will give one farmer what they think are experimental chicks or feed and another farmer something else and learn from those farmers in a way that accrues to Tyson's profit, but the farmers can't learn because they aren't allowed to talk to each other. They're paid per pound for the number of chickens they bring in, and those who bring in more pounds per feed do better, but they aren't allowed to then go talk to their neighbors to say, what did you do, what did you learn? So instead of having a vibrant, competitive marketplace, they're effectively, in some ways, serfs to Tyson. And they can't drop out because Tyson and a few other processors own so much of the market that if they drop out, there's no one they can sell their chickens to. So chickenization is this technical term where when processors, the chicken processors, set the prices and the terms by which the farmers must operate. But chickenization isn't just moving into beef, it's also moving into other areas. This is a Walmart picture. So Walmart, right, has shelves and it sells the products on its shelves. It sells jeans and drugs and sodas and DVDs. I guess I'm showing my age with that. And so you might think then all the different soda companies come together, compete, and say, here's what's going to work, here's what's not going to work, and then Walmart just sells these on its aisles. But no, instead what you see, and Barry Lynn has done some good research on this, and the New York Times, which I'm not supposed to mention, that Walmart, in fact, has a kind of Tyson chicken farmer relationship with those who would be on its shelves, because like with Tyson, if you're not on the Walmart shelf, you actually can't sell your product. So that means Walmart has the authority then to go to those who want to sell their jeans, for instance, and say, as it has said to Levi's, we want a different kind of cotton in your jeans. There's a instance that was reported in the New York Times where Coke was going to come out with a new kind of Coke, Coke Zero. And Walmart said, we don't like the sweetener you're using. You must use Splenda in your new experiment. So effectively, Walmart is then interacting with Coke the way that Tyson was interacting with these producers, and like with these chicken farmers, using its market power to actually in some ways spy on those and find out about the ingredients of those who would sell their stuff in their aisles. Now let's see if this slide's going to work. Yes, this is not a chicken farm. This is Amazon. So chickenization isn't just in the offline retail space, it's also happening in online retail. So maybe you think of Amazon as the thing you go to online, but of course in practice what it is these enormous warehouses and delivery systems, this private post office, private train system to allow you to get things to your door fairly quickly. Now, so far, we don't know that Amazon is telling those who would sell on Amazon what ingredients in particular to use, but it has the power to do so, and we know that from what happened this past summer, where Amazon got in a big fight with a Hachette publishing company. So in that fight, they were having a contract dispute about terms, and what happened is that Amazon said, well, if you're going to have a fight with us, it's going to take 2 weeks for your books to get to customers. And it's going to take maybe 2 days for your competitors' books to get to your customers. This is very clear. They use the delay tactic, different pricing tactics, basically saying, we own the capacity to price. We are like the processors, the Tysons, where we are going to set the price, and if you want to get to your market, you have to go through us, and we're going to punish you if you don't. Now, this might have seemed like a small fight, but when you think about the ingredients that are in books, ideas, it becomes something more dangerous, a kind of feudal power over ideas. And even if Amazon isn't using that power right now, by allowing it to exist in this way, we are giving it the power to control the flood of ideas that come to us. So why is this happening? It's happening in all different areas. This is a chart that may be familiar to some of you about concentration in the banking industry. From the early 90s to now, we've gone from hundreds of banks to effectively 4 big banks. This is concentration in the cable industry. We've gone from hundreds of cable companies to 3 to 4, and then maybe 3 if the Time Warner Comcast merger goes through. And in the industries that I was talking about earlier, Tyson, Walmart, and Amazon all themselves have also gone through a period of rapid consolidation, because when you are one of few in a market, you have a different kind of power over producers. Because the chicken farmer can't go anywhere else. The book publisher can't go anywhere else. Or in the case of cable, controlling the ingredients of what is coming into your television set, the content producer can't necessarily go anywhere else. These are corn. We also see this in other areas, like Monsanto and 3 other companies own collectively about 70% of the US seed market. So in area after area after area, we have this radical concentration. But we've been here before. You know, there's a tendency sometimes to think that this is I know I'm not supposed to go back, but I'm going to, state of nature. A kind of Darwinian process, that it is necessary to have this kind of concentration. There's nothing we can do about it. We have to have chickenization. But we've been here before, and we had this in the late 19th century. This is a cartoon you might have seen called The Bosses of the Senate that showed up in Puck. And it shows these sort of cowering senators below these octopus strong men representing oil, steel, sugar trusts, the big trusts that were effectively controlling politics. So somebody asked me earlier, why are you talking about market structure when I thought what you cared about is politics? Well, I'm talking about it because this kind of control in the marketplace then bleeds over to control in our political sphere as well. Our modern monopolists may be more attractive than in the last picture. This is Jeff Bezos. I don't blame him. I blame ourselves for allowing this system. I admire him. He not only has controlled the publishing industry, but he bought the Washington Post. So think of the modern bosses of the Senate with Jeff Bezos leaning over with the Washington Post as a constant threat, lest any of those senators actually want to do something about antitrust or online taxation. But here's the other problem with this system, is it leads to fear. And it leads to political fear. As the great New York governor said, we only have to fear fear itself. It's a very serious, it's easy sentence to say, but it's actually a very serious idea. So think about the fear you would feel as a chicken farmer if you wanted to protest Tyson's practices. In fact, this came out in reporting in the New Republic last year, 2 years ago, where chicken farmers were interviewed and asked about why they were not necessarily going to go and testify about current farming practices when Eric Holder was holding hearings around the country. And what they said is, well, I'm scared that if I testify, I'll be retaliated against. And think about what that retaliation would be. Bad seed, bad chicks. A contract that you can't get out of, but you can't pay for the mortgage that you owe on the farm that you yourself had to borrow money for. So the fear goes to your economic well-being. Or this summer, when the publishing fight with Hachette was going on, I talked to people in the publishing industry who said they were scared of speaking out against what Amazon was doing because they wanted their books to get to market. They wanted their ideas to be heard. And so this seems like it's just in the market sphere, but if that kind of control in the market sphere bleeds over into our political sphere, we not only don't have the kind of competitive, thriving, small business economy that we, I think, all want, but we also don't have the competitive, thriving, small idea, big idea economy and democracy that we all want. So we want to free the chickens, or free the chickens. And the good news is we actually know how to do this. I said this was a revolution that's happened in the last 20 or 30 years, and it wasn't an accidental revolution. It wasn't like Tyson woke up in 1990 and said, well, we should vertically integrate, and nobody's ever tried that before, because we know they tried it in the 19th century. But what happened is in 1981, Ronald Reagan basically rewrote all the antitrust laws. We stopped being committed as a country to a decentralized economy in our laws, in our lending. And so if we want to have this Walt Whitman society where every voice is different instead of every voice is the same, a really thriving economy and a really thriving democracy, we should change our campaign finance laws. But we also need to look at our antitrust laws, our anti-monopoly laws. Break up the big banks. Break up those who would control chicken processing. Look at antitrust and Monsanto with its use of patent, which is a form of monopoly. And then in the case of companies like Amazon, where it may be impossible to imagine breaking them up, well, maybe we should try things like what we tried in the 19th century with the railroads, which is to say, you can be a marketplace, you can carry goods to people, to market, but you need to have a neutrality principle. You can't charge Hachette one set of prices and then another publishing company another set of prices. So the truth is, I believe everybody already knows this. I believe people already feel it, the sense of powerlessness, the sense of a lost way in terms of our American entrepreneurial democracy. And I believe there is a kind of sleeping giant out there in the country of people who want to take on these monopolists that are not just acting as market actors, but as political actors. And the best sign that this is happening is what happened just 2 weeks ago, where the FCC announced a neutrality principle for the internet, the net neutrality rules, saying you cannot discriminate between different forms of content. So I think we're going to look back, I hope, we're going to look back at those FCC net neutrality rules as the beginning of this new anti-monopoly moment, where people don't just look at net neutrality, but perhaps Amazon neutrality, and don't just think about breaking up big banks, but thinking about breaking up big chicken. Thank you so much for your time.